my body back and forth. Move 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 my body.
I've been waiting on a man. I know that the time's now, I'm taking what's mine. You're mine. Ready for you and I. Ready for you and ready for you and You just might be right out of my fantasy. You just might be ready for you and
So cool. So cool. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Ty from MKII Pro DJ, and today we are taking a look at the brand new Rane 4 Serato DJ controller. First controller ever with hardware stems control. And I'm joined by Jake Hill from Rane from Mid Music, as well as Mojaxx from across the pond. Welcome, everybody. How you guys doing?
Yeah, doing well. Good to see you.
Very good.
Right on, right on. So yesterday was a day, right? Like we sold out of Rane 4s, which is pretty cool. We got more coming, which is even cooler. And then even more coming a couple weeks from now. So we're super excited about that. So for everybody that ordered yesterday, thank you so much. We really appreciate you and all the support. There's a lot of pre-orders that have come in overnight and as well this morning. So we're truly blessed to be part of the inner circle at Rane and in music, and we really appreciate you guys taking good care of us and all of our customers. So thank you guys so much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys had a hell of a launch day yesterday.
Yeah, it was a little busy. Started at 12:01 a.m. Eastern. That's when everything went live. And then, started pushing things out. And then, a lot of the morning was, answering questions and moderating, and then getting ready for our Rane train that went live at 12 noon with, pretty much the dream Rane DJ lineup, starting with Scratch Bastard. And we had Jazzy Jeff and Craze and A-Track, Flipside and K-Swiss. And it was incredible.
Right on. Congrats for that. I think it was a great launch. The product is like super well received. So we're really excited about it. What do you think, Mojaxx?
I think it's been quite a hectic time for new releases, but I think like the reaction that I've heard from people who've actually got hands on with it has been very, very, very positive indeed. Like it's one of those that Patrick from Inner Fader just posted yesterday, like he's been playing with it and is absolutely blown away. It's his favorite static platter, controller ever. It was obviously a fairly controversial product in the beginning because it's Rane and it doesn't have spinning platters, and that threw people a little bit, I think. But I think as time has gone on, most people have they're understanding what it's about and what it's for. And I think also in a lot of parts of the world, spinning platters aren't so much a thing, certainly like here in the UK.
Right.
Most of the DJs, the overwhelming majority of DJs that I know in my life don't use spinning platters. They don't use turntables. They use CDJs. They use media players. They use controllers. That's what they've been, it's quite possible at this stage to have been a professional DJ for 20 years and never have used a turntable. That's perfectly feasible. So like I don't think the static platter thing is such a big deal in some parts of the world. And obviously, Rane have made pretty clear that they're not giving up on the spinning platter DJs out there. This is something else for a different kind of DJ. And lots of us use both. I like static platters on a it's great having spinning platters on a controller, but that makes it very big and heavy. The Rane 1 is as heavy or heavier than this, isn't it? I think the Rane 1 is heavier than this.
It is.
The Rane 1 is much smaller than this. Yeah. So
smaller.
I put this in the same kind of soft case that I take out controllers in, and I'd had the Rane 1 in it previously, and I put this thing in. I was like, oh my god, like this is lighter, and yet it's much bigger, very spacious. A lot bigger. Yeah, so like I think it's one of those where it was a polarizing product, but the more that people get a chance to have hands on with it, and the more they get to experience it, the more they enjoy using it, and the more they understand where it's coming from. I think
the 8.5-inch the static platter is just butter, right? Like it is so well done. I don't know if concern was the right word, but it was like, I wonder what the platter is going to be like, and you guys killed it. Killed it.
Thank you.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the platter a lot, and I know Mojaxx, you said you liked it as well. But when I was listening to the streams yesterday, and then it was with Craze, and he was doing some pretty complex stuff. I'm like, man, it's truly capable platter. And then K-Swiss came on. He's the reigning DMC world champ, and he was doing things with that. I like it definitely. If anybody's on the fence about the responsiveness and quality of the platter, I mean, if they heard that, they'd like, okay, game over. It's quality for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like my experience of the in-music family of brands, the static platters on like the Denon 6000s, for example, and the 5000s were not good. The 6000s are much better, but this is clearly more aimed at those who like to actually use the platter for scratching and cutting and so on, and it's been developed with that kind of user in mind a lot more. And so I think, and it succeeds on that level for me. Like I've this thing for me came alive. I've been using it on Twitch streams, and I'm mostly playing house and everything else. It's fine for pitch bending. It's all good for that. But then it was when I started to take it out to a couple of gigs, 6-hour boom bap hip hop kind of gig. That's when this thing really came alive for me, because actually those platters are very, very good for just kind of that more kind of technical movements with the platters. And, I'm not a big turntablist, but, still I like to drop things in and by cutting them in and so on. It feels very good for that. Absolutely does.
Yep. Agreed. So everybody joining us on all the live streaming platforms, please make sure you put in your questions and whatnot in the comments, and we will definitely get to those after. Jake, you're going to kind of do an overview, and we're gonna kind of scratch the surface and do a little nerd level deep into it. Correct?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Mojaxx, what's your timeline like? You got plenty of time today?
I can do like at least an hour. We're all good.
Okay. God, I hope we don't go an hour.
Not once I start talking, it's all good. Right, I'll mute myself, then let's let Jake do his thing.
Okay, cool. Take it away, Jake.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna just dive in. I'm gonna just high level, hit the main features, and we'll dive in deeper as requested by the audience. But first and foremost, I think we'll just jump right into stems control. So we worked, hand in hand with Serato to make a stems controller, and with that, we just didn't want to do just a stems pad mode, which we do have. We wanted to take it up a notch, so we added direct access acapella and instrumental buttons here, and also the Rane exclusive stem split. So up in the upper corner of each deck, we have deck selection buttons. Right now I have a track loaded on 1, I think. So track on 1, and if you could see my Serato, you'd see deck 3 is empty. There's nothing on deck 3. But what would happen As soon as I hit stem split, the track is split. So now we have instrumental on 3, and then the acapellas on 1. So then you can, apply effects to the acapella independently, or you could do that to the instrumental. So that opens up a world of possibility with mixing, and you can add in, we have this channel effects section, and that's software effects controlled by knobs, but we have like a filter roll, and you can use this with the vocal or whatever else. And you can layer your effects over the channel effects too. So that's the stem split, and I do always like to show the little cutting trick, because that's just like, as DJs, our minds have just been kind of conditioned to think, well, how's that even possible? Like when we see somebody just grabbing the vocal from a track that's playing live and they're manipulating it, and the instrumental is just continuing. So I'll show that. So I'm still locked together. I'll go back to the vocal, or the vocal part of the track. So it's on 1, the vocal. And then I just lock them back together by hitting the deck 3, and since stem split functions as like an instant double, when I hit it again, they lock back together. So they're back in time. So that's really the exclusive feature of the Rane 4 that you can't get anywhere else. You can stem split, and then if you just want to not get too crazy with it, you can just scratch in slip mode. So when your hand leaves the platter. And then when you let go of the platter, it obviously is slip mode, so it picks up where it would be. But I prefer to, my hand usually leaves the platter if I'm cutting up a vocal or something, so I prefer that little double tap trick, which is pretty cool. And then other than that, if you just want to go straight up, using stems, you can use the pad mode. All right, so I just have a single track on deck 3. I'm in the stems pad mode. And then this brings me, you probably can't see it on this view, but you can see that there's something here. These are the OLED pads. And so before
your
on
audio
your
is
performance
switched,
pad, if you wanted to see what was on the performance pad, you had to look over at your laptop and see what your cue points were, pick those out of the screen to see your beat divisions, for your loops and your rolls and things like that. And I don't even think, I haven't found it yet. Oh, there it is. Yeah, the stems displays there. But now you can see on the OLED pads, I have vocal, melody, bass, drums, and then below it lists out the effects. Putting it back to here.
Jake, I think your audio.
Oh, did I lose you?
You're there, but it sounds like a cell phone or.
All right, I had this yesterday too. It's something with my. Give me 1 second.
Yep.
The beauties of live television.
Right.
That's how we get down with live TV. It's always fun. You'd think now, after all these years of Zoom meetings and live streams and everything else, that this technology would be fully nailed, but it's definitely not, is it?
Oh, God, no. I went into the studio today and tried to plug in my Elgato cameras, and it's like, oh, you're plugging these in with USB 2.0. And I'm like, this MacBook Pro doesn't have USB 2.0, but thanks for that. So, yeah, it's always something.
Should we do some shout-outs while we're here?
Yeah, for sure.
So shout out Lehman Lee, Crisco Kid, shout out guys, Ricky G.
Shout out to Wes. Is that my pre-order sitting behind you? Oh, that? So that's our studio one. That could be yours. We'll have to discuss when we're done. So Mojaxx, how many times have you played on it yet?
I mean, the thing is, I'm probably the person outside of Rane who's played with the Rane 4 the most, because I did my first look with a prototype version back in, was it like October?
Check.
A long
something
time.
like when Serato stems first dropped properly. So
Yep.
I actually had that prototype around for months, and I was streaming with it and just jamming with it at home and in the studio. And then I've got this retail version I've got now since. So this one's now a proper production unit. But yeah, I've played with it a lot, and yeah, so I've probably had quite a lot of experience, and I've gone through like the demo, that, you know, the sort of beta firmwares and stuff, and I have to say it's nailed now. Like, it's absolutely on point with Serato. You can tell that Serato were putting in the effort with this, and they actually cared about this product as well. You know, this wasn't like a random like mapping that they just did for a device. Like this clearly they've worked hand in hand with Rane on this. You know, no doubt about it. I mean, before Jake gets back to it, you met that the displays on the pads, the OLED displays on the pads, are the best thing. They are, like, everyone's talking about the stems all the time, but like those OLED displays, like to be able to see which beat length division you're doing for your loop roll, and to be able to see the names of your samples in the sample bank and the names of your stuff in the scratch bank and all of this is like, it's one of those things. I never knew I needed that in my life, but it turns out I did need that in my life all along. It is absolutely fantastic. Like, what a great feature that is. And I think, yeah, because it's quite a small thing as part of the overall package, I don't think people are quite picking up on just how cool that is to have those there. I think you'd agree with that, right, Jake?
Yeah, I would. You guys hear me? Am I back?
Yeah.
You're back
now. Yeah, sorry about that. That happened yesterday too. I think what happened is I overdrive the sound card that I have externally connected, and then for some reason with StreamYard it just mutes everything. So I'm just going to turn down these decks a little bit. Where did I lose audio? Was it we were looking at stem pads?
I don't know. The audio was still there. It's just
you just got to the pads and we lost the music. It was just your mic external.
Yeah, so let's
but you were getting to the stem pads, I think.
Yeah. So the and I'll just put this track back on, and then it's a different track, but yeah, so the top level, let me get that same track on because I like that vocal a little better. All right, we'll go with this one. Oh, you know what? Because I have slip mode on. Okay, so on the stems pads, so we have the elements on top, so you can see what you're selecting and deselecting. So you got the bass, bring in the melody. And then we have the stem effects on the bottom. So you got like your instant breaker for the bass. Same thing for like echo. So you have all the Serato stem effects access there too. But next to it, you have the stem direct access pads. But I did want to show that we have a split pad mode that you can access. So if you want to do hot Q and then still have access to your stems pad mode, you just hold down whatever pad mode you want on top, and then you hit the other pad mode, then you have it on bottom. So then you have access to both, you know, your stems and your Q points. So if you wanted to jump around while deactivating and activating stems, you can do that on the Rane Four because we have the split pad. And like Mojaxx was saying, you can see it on the OLED displays so that you know where you're at and what you're doing. And it comes in really handy for things like when you have the roll mode engaged on the bottom. You can see your roll divisions, you can see your cue point names, and you can do the same thing with whatever pad mode you want to have, top, bottom, sampler. You can do scratch bank. So split pad mode is something that's really handy, and the OLED pads just bring it to the next level. So I do want to talk about the effects. The effects are a new internal suite of effects. And as I was showing kind of in that demo, you have the channel effects. We have a filter roll, noise, and flanger. And if you were using your external sources, the filter would still affect those external sources. But the filter roll and noise and flanger are software based, so those would not affect the external sources. But all the internal effects do, because they are hardware effects. And just earlier today, I was on a Teams call, and I live looped one of the participants just to see if I could, because I have the audio running into channel 4, and I was able to like live remix a Teams call because all the effects are hardware effects. So just shows how powerful it is. But the effects, we have 22 different effects. You know, there are 6 that are like the default on the buttons, just out of the factory. But if you wanted to change it up, you just hold the effect and then you cycle through what you want. And like, I really enjoy the duck echo. So you just push the encoder, and now I have duck echo set on the first one. And you can adjust the parameters of whatever effect with the encoder knob. And quite often there are more than one parameter to adjust. So you just tap the knob. And so on duck echo, we have a high pass frequency cut point. We have feedback percentage. We have crossfader trigger, yes or no. And that's it. So you have, in just that single effect, you have, 3 parameters to adjust. And you can also adjust the beat division by using the joystick. And so once you dial it in, like I will say I like a half beat and I have the parameters where I want, you just hold the button for 4 seconds and it'll save that effect. So since it is like a little mini computer in there, every time you boot it up, your effects will have your presets already set. So it's pretty cool. And then like I mentioned, you can layer the effects with your channel effects. You can apply them to all sources, and you have your selections here. And what I do like is that it's intuitive, because when you stem split, your vocals are always on the middle channels, and there's like a little icon for the mic, and then your instrumentals are always on the outside. And if you look at the way that we have the effects set up, channel 1 and 2 are on top. That's your vocals, and then the assignments for channel 3 and 4 are on bottom. So that's your instrumental. So if you always want your vocals to be the ones that you're echoing out, you need to be on the top. And like when I use duck echo, I just kind of leave it on. And then when I'm doing my vocals, as soon as I drop a fader, I'll get the echo. Or I use the crossfader, I'll get the echo. So you can almost leave it on if you're going back and forth between vocals of 2 tracks. So yeah. And then of course we have the build quality that we're known for. It has a metal chassis. It is only 18 pounds, but it's super solid and well constructed, and it sounds great. Same Rane engineers based in Washington that we use for everything for the sound card, so it's going to sound just as good as a flagship mixer from Rane, because it's the same components basically. So it's going to be high quality through and through. All right, any questions, or you want me to dive in deeper on anything?
I'm massively annoyed now, because I've just realised that I forgot to film for my review that I'm doing. I forgot to film the split pad mode, because that's awesome. I forgot about that. And I forgot the thing about holding down and saving the effects. So when you boot it up, those same effects are there. I'd forgot about that as well. So great. I've got more work to do now. So thanks so much for that.
Now
Just
you
cut
got
to
a
this
whole bunch
footage.
more to do.
Yeah.
Start your
Cheers for
screen
that.
cap
No,
right now.
Yeah, really, again, really cool effects like this. There's a lot of attention to detail in this thing, which I really like. I mean, that's the thing with it. It's clearly well thought through. It's not a rushed product. I mean, it's taken long enough to hit the shelves. So, there's clearly been work put in and behind the scenes. And yeah, it feels like a very complete product, I think. It is, everything's there that you need. I keep thinking, I need this. And the only thing that's missing for me is Silent Q, because I'm obsessed with Silent Q. But I've remapped that to the slip mode anyway. Or no, sensor. I remapped that to sensor anyway. So
actually now, Mojaxx, based on your feedback, let's see. I got another view going a little closer. It's still probably blurry, but so you can access and Mojaxx knows this, but the audience won't. You hold Shift and hit the effects selection button for hardware or software effects. You can go into your main menu where we added a lot of options. And what's nice is we'll continue to update this with firmware. But there's an option called sensor, and you go to sensor, and you can set your sensor button to normal or silent Q, so you don't have to remap anything. Yeah,
so you've done my mapping for me.
There we go.
That's the Mojaxx silent Q mode.
Yep.
Oh my
that's what it
word!
is.
That's
Yep.
going in the review. Happy days.
Yeah.
Oh, you
And then,
geniuses. Well done.
Other things hidden in this menu are really nice. It's nice that we have like we put the power in here for the effects because then we have the ability to put other things in here. But you have your crossfader cut-in adjustment, left or right. You can dial it in in this menu and it saves upon boot up. We have microphone options, so you can adjust the. I'm actually on mic 1 with this live stream, and so I can trigger an echo on the mic 1, and then I can adjust the echo feedback and everything in this main menu, and then I can also send it to booth or send it to my headphones, which I did, so I can hear my
Same
levels.
here. Yeah.
And then
Doing
to the computer if I'm live streaming on the same computer I'm running Serato. And so other things in the main menu, we have your firmware versions. You have the wheel display. You can show a needle marker or not, and you can set everything to back to factory reset. But and there's some microphone options as well, kind of the same thing. But yeah, so we added a bunch of adjustments there. And what's nice is, we talked to Mojaxx about that was one of the things we got for feedback was a silent cue, so that we were able to implement it and put it in the hardware. So it's nice to be able to update that going forward.
I'm so happy I'm so glad I did this show now because I wouldn't have known that, and I totally missed that. Like it's there's two massive new features for me in Serato DJ Pro in the past year: silent cue and stems, and those two combined have literally changed the way I DJ. And then using it with hardware like this that is dedicated to the idea of stems is just, it levels it up even further. To be honest, like the main thing that I've discovered from my playing out with it in recent days is that there's something about using a fader to cut things in and out. Like if I can just switch over to my Rane Four for a minute, like if I'll just get this track going. Speak jump through, so go to a hear that okay? Too loud? Is that coming through?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so I'll do stem split. There's something about, instead of cutting the vocal in and out with a button, which is fine, like that's useful on the stem pad mode and everything else, but it's just slamming something in with the fader is such a natural motion for a DJ. Just that in itself is brilliant. And the same with the vocal. You want to cut the vocal, you want to cut the instrumental, just using a fader to do that rather than pushing a pad or pushing a button. And that's unique to the Rane 4. Like nothing else does that. And so for me, that is just a beautiful experience when you're actually performing with this thing, as I have now. I did like 6 hours last weekend with it. It's these little workflow things of having, and honestly, like it is very, very functional as a 4-deck device. Is that a raid from Cleveland Terry? Shout out Cleveland Terry if we got the raid. Big ups. But like, yeah, when you have it like this and just use it as a stems device. So these extra 2 channels, I rarely use 4 channels when I'm DJing anyway. I'm a 2-channel kind of guy. So to have these extra 2 channels just as my basically stems controls, it's a revelation. Like it actually does kind of, it makes you work with stems in a different way. And I was already all about stems in Serato in general, but this levels it up to another degree. And the fact you can do, like I noticed, like there's a couple of tracks I played, because I'm doing like a cappella outs for most of the tracks that I'm playing now at this point live on the fly. And I found that some of the vocals were maybe a bit quiet. Well, that doesn't matter because I can just boost the gain on the vocal side of it and leave the instrumental where it was, or I can just take a bit of bass off the, there's so many options once you've split into those 2 elements on those 2 faders. It's not just adding effects, it's not just scratching. It is, you can actually kind of remix a track in the traditional way of remixing it, like a 70s version of a remix where you're just remixing the existing level elements and doing level changes and maybe tweaking some little effects here and there. So it is, live remixing absolutely on the fly. It's just hit that stem split button, you're good to go. And once you've like made a mess, as I sometimes do, just hit the stem split button, it goes back to where it was. So yeah, that's where for me this is something different. It's just something new. Absolutely. I'll go back to me now. Find the right button.
I agree.
No, that one. No, wrong camera. That one. No, that one. There we go. Anyway, sorry, yeah. So I am very enthused about this thing, as you can see. Genuinely very enthused about playing on it. It's just a fun experience. And that's kind of always the thing that I remember when I reviewed the Rane 1, whenever that was, 2020. When did that drop? 21? I can't remember.
Yeah, probably 2020. I believe.
20,
yeah, 2020. Yeah. And again, it was like that was such an exciting, fun device to play on, and that's what Rane always kind of brings to the table, is this kind of sense of like fun and creativity with their stuff. It's never boring, and that's what I love about the Rane stuff. It's never boring ever.
It's not called in, right? There's a lot, like you said, a lot of thought, a lot of heart, a lot of attention to detail that went into this design. It's intuitive. It was designed for a DJ to use, for a DJ to play on and enjoy playing on, versus just saying, here's our laundry list of features. We're going to jam these in. Well, that's not perfect, but we're just going to let it go. So
yeah, I think we have a lot of kind of geeky DJs that work on the Rane brand and touch it, and it's kind of a labor of love. And it's like we get mad when we see a feature that we don't have and we should, and so we make it happen. That kind of thing. It's we shouldn't take it personal, but we just want to be the best and support the Rane brand and reinforce what we've all known and loved. Like I remember when I got my first TTM 56, and I was just blown away by the quality and sound, and that was years before I was ever here. So when I came aboard here and happy to work on the Rane brand, it's like I want to reinforce what made me fall in love with the brand all those years ago, and I don't want to do it a disservice. It's kind of weird, right? But it's like you have this affinity for these brands as DJs because that's a lifestyle to us, and so I wanted to make sure that we all gave it the respect it deserves. I think that's a little too heavy for the live stream interview, but
it's not though. This brand has a legacy to hold up, right? It does.
Yeah.
And there is a consistency still. Like it's never safe, but there is a consistency. Like the knobs on here are basically the same knobs that were on the 62. The fader caps have been the same shape for 20 years or however long. It's that kind of thing where you do feel comfortable on it, even when limits are being pushed, even when things are very different and kind of standing out from going in new directions. You still feel comfortable because there are those elements that do feel the same. And it's always this super tough metal body on everything that it has that same consistent kind of aesthetic and feel, even when stuff is being pushed in crazy new directions.
Cool. Well, you want to see a couple other tricks real quick? I did want to mention.
Yeah. Kevin said you had all the sound switch.
Yeah, I wanted to show that. But first I want to mention, before I forget, Mojaxx was talking about using the up faders to bring in the acapella and acapella outs and things like that. And with the 4, so basically, I don't know if it's a US kind of open format DJ style, but it's always like that 16 bar intro, and then the verse starts. Sometimes it's 8. And then so like you're on a record pool, and that you need that version of the track, so you have that extra intro to mix, because not all tracks have that instrumental. But now, like you have that with every track, and so you would just set a cue point for the vocal start, and then you would just play the track, and then you could just hit instrumental. And then when you're ready for the vocal to drop as you're mixing, you would just go over and hit that cue point, and then just jump, disengage the instrumental. So it's like every track has a 8 bar, 16 bar intro now, because you can just go instrumental, and then when you're ready for the vocal to start, jump to the cue point and disengage. So that's one of the great things about that split stem pad mode. So you got your cues on top and stems on bottom. So you could even have like a bass intro if you wanted to, disable everything but the bass, and you have a bass intro, and then when you're ready to for the vocal to drop, you just hit all of them together, and then you're back. So yeah, things like that are like that attention to detail that Mojaxx was talking about, that kind of makes it what it is. But what I wanted to show is there is a MIDI pad mode, and let me switch to my other view. Well, here I'll show you the pad mode first. So this is a user assignable pad mode. It's shift and hot cue. And so these are all, MIDI mapped. And let's see, I'm on deck 1. I'm going to keep the volume low so I don't blow the card again. But I have sound switch going. Let me switch my camera. And so I have them mapped to controls and sound switch. So I've got Philips Hue all over. So I have them rocking and rolling now. So I have, I set some to like, blinding. I have a strobe set. I have on my pad modes. And then I just have, some of the auto loops like set here. I have one of them set to start stop, so if I want to pause it on a color, if I'm doing a gig or something, I can do that. But the nice thing is you can control your lighting from the 4 as well with this user-defined pad mode, which is really cool. So I set them, you just, to make it work, you can't see my screen, but if you're not familiar with Sound Switch, it runs in the background when you are, running Serato, and they link up so that you have your BPMs following. And then you just have them both open, Sound Switch runs in the background. So when you're plugged in with your 4, you can MIDI map ahead of time to Sound Switch various controls. Like I was saying, I can, pause a scene, or I can, do overrides. And there's a bunch of controls inside of Sound Switch that you can just MIDI map to. So if I was just DJing a normal gig, I would probably just MIDI map, my normal, we call them auto loops. And so it's just like kind of a normal chase. So it's kind of a nice little feature that you can do that you really can't do with a lot of other controllers, but you can do it with us. So yeah, so I thought that was really cool. And you could even, I haven't tested this, but I'm pretty sure I could split pad. Maybe not. I'll have to talk to the engineers on that one. But yeah, wanted to share that with you. So you do have that custom user MIDI map mode that maybe most don't know about yet.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that too. So that's another thing for my review. Brilliant. So much work after this. Thanks so much.
Ty can just send this to you, and you can just like.
As I say, you can just we'll just send the video and just cut it in, Mojaxx.
I'll just take notes. It'd be fine. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So what else? Any questions that we need?
So you want to start popping some questions in? Thanks, Kevin. Gary on Facebook. Thanks for joining us. How do the platters feel compared to others? Mojaxx, you want to take this? That way Jake doesn't have to talk about somebody else.
Well, I would say they are comparable. I mean, if you're used to static platters, the most commonly found spinning static platters in a club or whatever is CDJs. If you're used to CDJs, they're like CDJs with the tension at about 11 o'clock, basically. So they're not completely loose. They are quite light feeling, which I quite like, when I'm scratching and cutting and so on. Like if you're a full-on like house head techno DJ, then you might want a really heavy platter like the Denon 6000 or something like that. But for me, when I'm performing and I'm using... Oh, am I making noise? Sorry, my bad. I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, so like it's a little bit lighter, but it is so responsive, and there's kind of a nice momentum to it. So yeah, for me, CDJ platter with the tension... not quite all the way off, but like a little, not far off from all the way off. It's a pretty light feel to it overall. And for pitch bending and so on, yeah, it's very, I was kind of doubtful about the Technic style strobe dots on the outside. I was pretty doubtful about those, to be honest, but actually for pitch bending, they feel really good. Although you have the pitch bend buttons anyway, which is what I generally use. Whenever I have those on a device, I use them because actually they're a really precise and accurate way of doing pitch bending, far more so than any platter could be. Yeah, love those.
Yep, absolutely. That's a Denon feature carried over into Rane.
It's funny because back in the day, 20 something years ago, I used to hate them because it used to be on like the Denon DN2000 double CD players, and you didn't have a platter, you didn't have a jog wheel. All you had was those pitch bend buttons, and that was very irritating.
And play pause.
Yeah.
Tick, 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 tick.
Yeah,
tick,
like
tick,
the kids
tick,
these days don't know about this. They don't know about this. But like, you know, actually, when you break it down, they're actually a really good way of working, and actually, it's a very solid thing to do. So yeah, loving pitch bend. If you've got devices with pitch bend on there and you don't currently use it, that's something that's a tip I would definitely say. Try out your pitch bend buttons a little bit, because for me, and it's so convenient, just there right next by your hand. It's so simple to do. Pitch bend is the way forward, I think, for a lot of things.
Yep, I agree.
What's Jake doing?
I'm just saw a question in the chat.
Platter size, so.
Are they bigger?
Yeah, Charles
so
Smiley, are the platters bigger? Yep.
Yeah, they're bigger than this. There's your answer. Yeah. So this is the MKII Pro. So this is I think a 6-inch platter, if I'm not correct. Or,
on the MKII, yeah. The Rane 4 is an 8.5-inch platter.
Yeah, so that's a little reference there.
Yep.
There you go.
So in fact,
Do I have a CD?
if I switch my view now, like that is a Rane 1. That's a Rane 1 control disc, and it's the same size. So it sits right there. So you can see that sits. It's basically the same size, like a couple of millimeters difference. So if you've played on the Rane 1, you'll be familiar with the kind of size of those. So
Jake's got a 45
platter,
there.
Yep. Same as the Rane 1. So yeah, you get a little overhang there. Now we need those Jesse Dean tone arms. Just kidding.
No. All right, Kevin. What do we got next? Kevin's scrolling through questions.
I can show a couple effects that some people may not be familiar with that I think are actually really handy. So stutter out's an effect that has it grabs the beat or whatever, and it stutters it out, echoes it out in a certain pattern. So let me get on 3 here. So, and I was mentioning earlier, you can adjust the effects with the parameter knob. So same story with this one, but you can set the bars, how many bars you want the stutter effect to work on. So let me assign this. So that was a 1 bar echo out, or stutter out. So that's 3 bars. So right there you have 3 options, but if you do a little math, you have multiple effects you can stutter out. You have, you have 10. Let's start. So I have 10 triplets, 12 triplets, 13 triplets. So there's 13 different basic effect patterns for the stutter out. So I like number 8. And that's a 3 bar. So what I like to do with that one is when I'm doing a vocal, when I'm stem split, and if I want to almost stutter echo out the beat, I can do it. And then that's when I would drop in a beat on the other deck. But I really think that stutter out is really cool. And if I wanted to do a filter roll on there, I could. So it's like a, quadruple filtered, stuttery out. So you have a lot of, I wish somebody would do the math of how many different combinations you could do with just that stutter out alone. There's so many different things you can do with it. And, another unique one is rider. And that's the scale down, but this is a scale down, scale up. So it's
okay, that's kind of crazy.
Super crazy. Yeah, I actually did a mix for a local retailer here, and I used a sample, the Peace Out Premiere, Take Me Out with the fader, and I just like acapella'd that, and then I just went to the meow, 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 and then I righted it, and then it goes meow, 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 and then I went into the meow mix song, and then into some City Girls. So it's just like little things like that you can. It's just like, what can I do with this? And I think that's the DJ mentality that we all, love, is like, I don't know what this is for, but let me try to figure it out and make up, the use for it as I go. But yeah, pretty cool stuff.
I do worry that some people won't dig into the extra effects in here, and they won't actually go into that menu and have a look, because there's some in there that are just awesome, like that one. Cyclone I really like. Beat Break is awesome. Yep. And Pumper is like an instant French house effect. Like, there's some really dope stuff in there. So yeah, people should definitely kind of get into that.
I agree.
Like, check all the effects out.
Even like Pumper, like you can do that on your noise channel effect. So when it's locked to the BPM, so if you have a track playing in your
that is dope, right? Finally, a reason for me to use noise.
Yeah, so yeah.
Which I never ever do. I know lots of people do, but I never do.
Yeah. I thought
so that's dope.
Flipside used it really well. It was actually in the DENON DJ SC Live 4 video, and I think he used it really well, where he just had it on the channel and he just cut it with the fader. I think that's a good use for it as you're building up, for a Rane DJ. Just my opinion.
I do want to shout out as well, just while you're talking about the Flipside there, like obviously Flipside, the homie, that routine is dope, but everyone should also check out Blakey's routine that he did on the Serato channel with the Rane 4, because that is an epic routine, really highlights how you can work with the stems, and he then has a separate video where he talks you through how he does the routine. So shout out to my guy Blakey over here in the UK. Like, that is well worth a watch on Serato's YouTube channel. Like, it's that got me thinking about ideas on how to use the Rane 4 in some different ways as well. So yeah, that's a really well worth a watch.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic watch for sure. Quick, before we get into questions, quick shout out to everybody in the chat that has already bought from us. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate the support. Kevin said he's got a bunch of questions queued up. You want to fire away, Shub?
Let's do
it. Wes says, will we eventually be able to change the jog displays, like with a logo or other info? Customizable jog display?
Well, I'll say it's definitely possible. I don't know if that's on the roadmap or not, but the fact that we already have some customization inside the menu, says that it's a possibility. I can neither confirm nor deny.
Cool. Lever 412 on Twitch. Does the pitch fader have a center click like the Rane 1?
It does.
It does.
Mm-hmm. And a selectable range, which is right here. And what's really nice is you can see inside the jog wheel display your range, plus or minus 8, 16, or 50. And then, also you can, what's really handy is you see your beat jump divisions in the center display too. You can see your selected deck and the key and elapsed or remaining time, which you can adjust in settings.
Cool. What else we got here? Ryan Johnson started with the SL3 this time, first time considering Rane after 15 years. Absolutely. You started with an SL3, showing your age. Mojaxx, what's your first Serato box?
SL1.
SL1, yep.
SL1, yeah. Although I do remember the day very clearly, the day that I got my SL3, or I borrowed an SL3 or something, and I tried it at a gig, and doing the side-by-side sound quality between the SL1 and the SL3 was just like an instant, oh yeah, different game we're in here now. But shout out to the SL1. That's what got me into it in the first place. I couldn't afford a 57 at that point, and so I was an SL1 guy, and yeah, changed the game for me. Absolutely did. Fantastic.
SL1 was a little rough sound quality-wise, but boy, the 3 made a huge difference. Huge difference.
I did that
Still
same
have my
thing.
3 right here.
Still kicking. If you
The
blue one?
UK blue
The UK
SL3,
blue
yeah,
one.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Sadly now dead, but it works, but just like no more. No more
Right.
support.
DJ Tech, is this
yes.
worth
Yep,
the
I'll
upgrade over an SRT? You
I'll
want
take
that one,
this
Jake?
one. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like not even close.
I'm not going to answer that either. Like that's what you can't answer. Maybe is it worth it to you? I don't know. Like for some people, lots of people, it might well be because of that stems functionality.
Yep.
For others, it won't. You know, that's an eternal question. They're both very good devices. Like what you can,
That's a good point. If you want to be more logical about it, I would probably do like a decision flow chart. Are you a DJ? Yes or no? Yes. Do you want to sound as good as you can possibly sound? Yes or no? Yes. And then that one is by the Rane 4. The no takes you down another path.
Wow.
Shots fired. I wish I had
That's
some
all you,
sound
Jake.
effects.
You're on your own, man. Sorry. I mean, I will, like Jake said, audio quality wise, it's the same sound card that an MP 2015 has, that a Rane 72 has, that a Rane 1 has, and now the Rane 4. So
yep.
You get that same quality all across the board. Gambit on Facebook, do the stems work through the Rane 4, or do you have to make stems folder in your library of the songs you want to use stems with?
Well, I'll let Mojaxx chime in on that one too. So I don't have.
I mean, in general, no. I mean, Serato. If your computer is capable of doing the stem analysis on the fly, then Serato DJ Pro will do it on the fly for you. You don't need to analyze your files ahead of time. It is more demanding to do the on-the-fly analysis. I mean, on my laptop, on my Windows laptop I use for DJing, I do have nearly my entire library now in the stems folder with pre-analyzed stems files. But that's just because I don't like to... When I'm doing open format sets, I have a very short attention span, and I like to mix stuff, verse, chorus, goodbye. That's me. Like one verse, one chorus, gone. So I don't want to wait for stuff to analyze before I can do the stems. So that's why I generally do it. But I also use BeatSource, of course, a lot. And Serato can't pre-analyze BeatSource files and streaming files in general. So I'm still doing it on the fly. So you certainly, as long as you have a computer that can handle it, you never need to put anything into that stems folder in Serato, ever. But you might want to. It's one of those things. But if you've got an older machine, you're going to have to put your stuff in that stems folder to make it work, basically. If you're still one of the 2015 MacBook Pro Till I Die gang, then you're going to need to have to do some pre-analysis, I'm afraid, and that takes up a lot of space on your hard drive. But Serato, but I mean, the thing to bear in mind is, when you're talking about stems and the Rane 4, this is just a Serato controller. That's all this is. This is not a standalone device. It doesn't have inbuilt playback. It's not like a Denon DJ Prime 4. It is a Serato controller. It's controlling Serato DJ Pro software. So anything that, whatever, what in terms of what this can do, it can only do what Serato DJ Pro can do. It has the hardware effects, etc. But when it comes to controlling your music, it can only do what Serato. So if it's not a feature in Serato DJ Pro, then it's not a feature. It's not going to be. So stems is all done by the software. This is just dealing with the processing of what Serato DJ Pro is putting out, if that makes sense. Hope it made sense.
Caesar Alas, already ordered mine from AGI. There a separate, thank you for that, by the way. Is there a separate aux input when using all 4 channels? I haven't looked. Mojaxx or Jake?
No.
Well, you can use one of the mics if you wanted to, or you can. So when you're switching to the external, inputs, they're on channel 3 and 4. So there's a switch. So could you have them all going at once? I don't think so. This way, you could if you ran it through a mic and did some stuff there. But you can switch back and forth. Like if you had when I did a lot of weddings, I always had especially for the spotlight dances, I had a list ready to go on my phone or like an old iPod, and I always had that going into a line in. You could totally do that here. You just put it into one of the line ins. You could have it, going just like normal software decks, and then you could just switch it over to access that. Actually, that's my audio to the interview is coming in through my line right here, this RCA. So I can just have one set of headphones. So yeah, you can do it that way on either side.
Is anybody else as surprised as I was at where the price point came in at?
I was.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, we went through a few different
Mojaxx?
prices. Yeah.
It's where I hoped it would be.
Sure. Right. Where we
Basically.
hoped.
Yeah,
But I guess my fear
these days
was
you
that
never
it's
know.
going to be more.
You never know.
Right. Yeah.
But that is where I hope.
Bill of materials costs,
the natural
shipping
price.
costs.
Yeah.
I think for the unique features, they really knocked it out of the park with the hardware effects. Well done, for sure. That's a biggie for me. Very well done. On your website says out of stock.
Effects, they're the best. They are the best. Rane, sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
They are the best hardware effects we've had on Rane stuff. Like the 72 is very advanced in terms of its effects, but also kind of complex to manage. And the 70 is nice, got good effects on there, but they're basic. This has got kind of it's a good combination of those two those two elements. You've got the complexity is there, but it's very easy to manage and it's very easy to work with. And I think that's why I like the effects on here so much.
I think some of the complexity from the 72 comes from the fact that it's like, oh, look, we have this huge screen. Let's use it, right? And with the 4, you've got this little tiny OLED screen, and you're really forced to simplify the control, but you still have all of the features. And I like the fact that it's simple controls because it makes it so much easier to learn and then to use.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Out of stock and expecting to have more. We should have more in just a matter of days. So we've confirmed with InMusic that we have another palette of controllers on their way. So if you are looking to pick one up, definitely put in a pre-order. You're talking a matter of days. It's not weeks for sure. Yep. DJ Sergeant P on YouTube. After many years, I'm finally making the switch from Tractor because of the Rane 4. Nice. You know, Mojaxx, you were talking about the whole static platter thing, US versus non-US. Do you think, does the same apply for Serato versus other software, US versus non-US?
I think quite a few years ago, I think these days the divide is more between what kind of DJ you are, what kind of music you play. Like, you know, in obviously BeatSource, we're part of the Beatport group of companies, and so I'm involved with the Beatport side as well.
Right.
Beatport, you'd be amazed at how many Beatport users are still using Tractor. You know, those house and techno DJs, they're all about that Tractor life still. A lot of them.
Right.
But once you get into the open format world, anywhere in the world, Serato is the leader. You know, without a doubt.
Yep.
All of my working DJ, open format DJ friends, all of them are on Serato, apart from like one guy who's on Tractor still. You know, they're just it's that mentality, I think, is different. That's not a geographical thing. I think it's just the kind of music, the kind of DJ you are determines whether you're a Tractor or a Serato person, or maybe Record Box. But you know, that's kind of a different thing with the standalone and what have you. So yeah, it's definitely Serato is still the leader in the open format world. But yeah, a virtual DJ, Cleveland Terry, I see him popping in there. All right, okay, but that's more of mobile DJs. That's not my circle of DJ friends. You know, I don't know a lot of mobile DJs, and I that's definitely, I'm talking club, bar DJs, open format, Serato all day, over here and everywhere, I think.
Kevin, what else do we got question wise? Anything else? Cool. Yeah. So let's do last call for questions. Anybody watching? Thank you everybody for joining us. If you have a question, pop it into the chat. You've got Jake here from Rane. You've got Mojaxx, who's probably outside of the InMusic folks, has had one of these and had more experience on it than anybody, for sure. So if you got questions, hit them. Roughneck, does the pitch fader have a center click like the Rane 1? Oh, we already talked about that. It does.
Yeah, we did that one. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yep. And then is the crazy to think M Audio Torque never took a Torque.
Well, hang on. All right. Okay. So, but M Audio, what happened to M Audio?
Yeah.
M Audio eventually became part of In Music. So there's a bit of DNA of M Audio Torque still lives on to this day. I feel like in the Engine OS and, you know, in these products, there's M Audio Torque is still there. Deep down, M Audio Torque is still part of this world. It's just it shone too brightly before its time. I think that's what it was.
And that's similar. The like the effects, we were talking about the effects. Well, we have, you know, an effects software company called AIR, and we have their engineers at our disposal to help us make effects. So it's kind of, I said it before, and people gave me a hard time in the comments, but I said the Taco Bell of DJ brands, because we can take a soft shell from this product and put it with the refresh. You know, we can create amazing products because we have all the ingredients at our disposal. And we could take the very best of the best and put them together into one product.
Well, you've got MPC pads on your controllers, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Can I just address this question from Ricky there? Yeah. Okay. Because Jake can't talk about this one, right?
Right.
The only thing those two products have in common is that they're both made for DJs. That is like literally the only thing they have in common. That's it. Like, you might as well talk about a car and a crane. Like, you know, they both have wheels and a steering wheel. Or what. It's just, they're not the same product. The Opus Quad is a 4-channel, all-in-one, standalone device, doesn't require a computer, has 3 big colour screens on it. It's all this kind of stuff. And so, obviously, that's substantially more expensive than this. You know, you've got the Prime 4 costs more than the Rane 4. Again, because it's got a giant screen on it. It's got a built-in operating system that it runs its music off. They're not even they're just not in the same category of product at all. You might as well compare this and, a Mixstream Pro that's $600. They're totally different products that do different jobs. And so, yeah, in terms of quality, you know, the Rane interfaces, the Rane sound quality is fantastic. I would also say the Pioneer DJ recent sound quality is excellent as well. I'm not going to say that's bad, you know. Those two products they're not the same thing in any way. They're just not comparable at all. And so, yeah, I can't go any further with that question than to say that they're just not. They're not the same kind of product.
Right.
You know, there are other
like comparing
products
an Apple
from other manufacturers. Yeah, there are other products from other manufacturers that compete more closely with this, but the Opus is just not even in the same product category. So if you're comparing those, I feel like you need to do a bit more research about what you're trying to get out of your gear. A lot more research about that first, because they're not going to give you the same experience, the same results, they're not going to do the same job, basically.
Right. Johnny says, thought the Rane 4 would have had a torque adjustment knob on each jog. Jake, conscious decision?
Yeah, it was
part of the design.
The decision. Yeah, the design was to not include a torque adjustment and just use, weight them based on, feedback from the industry and market. And they have a good weight, sturdy weight.
They feel great.
They feel great, yeah.
Yep, they feel really
I know
good.
Cleveland Terry's not a fan of them not having that adjustment, but I'm all right with it because I really like the feel, so I'm good. You know, I think Cleveland is somebody who likes his platters a little bit tighter, but for me, as I say, the weighting on these is perfect for open format kind of work, I think.
Yeah.
The splitting question, yeah, absolutely. That's the beauty of it. When you split, you hit stem split and you're independent. So instrumental, acapella, you can do whatever with it. And the little trick I was talking about earlier, that applies to where you can just jump back and line everything up. That applies to anything. So you could be looping or rolling a section or jumping around a cue points in the vocals, and then when you're done, you just can just line them back up. So that's the beauty of stem split. You can even, something as simple as just bringing the volume of your vocal down if you wanted to. You really couldn't do that before something like this. So, yeah, that's the beautiful thing. You have complete control.
Yep. What else? Somebody actually asked this. Go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead. You use with Beatport and Tidal. Whatever Serato decides they want to support for streaming, right?
Yeah, BeatSource, Beatport. Yep.
Oh, Mojaxx, we lost your
mic on. Yeah.
There
yeah, no,
go.
again, it's just, what does Serato do? Serato supports BeatSource and Beatport and some other lesser streaming services. So by all means, use whichever one works for you. But yeah, no, if Serato does it, this does it. That's the story with this.
Right.
This is a Serato controller. So if Serato supports those, absolutely, which it does, then this will also support it.
Not hooked up to Serato, this doesn't do a whole lot at all.
Well, you could, if you wanted to, you could run it on, you use straight up vinyl on turntables and just use the mixer and use all the effects and everything. So, but, yep. I don't know why you'd buy it to do that, but you could.
But you could. And when using all 4 channels for stems, is there a separate aux line that can be used? Yeah, you can use. No, you can use one of the mics as a line, can't you, Jake?
Yeah, I don't know about the level on that though.
Yeah, it's going to be a little wild.
Well, I wonder if
basically no.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's a lot going on.
They are mic level inputs. Like, you could drop something down to a mic level input and run it in mono, but there's no dedicated separate aux input to use alongside. You have to switch one of the channels for that.
Right.
But of course, you can do stems without using all 4 decks. You don't have to use stem split. I can have 4 different tracks playing and have different stems from each playing at the same time. You don't have to use stem split. Stem split is just one way of working. You've got the instant buttons to either side of the deck, of each deck. You've got the stems pad mode. Like, you don't have to utilize stem split to make stems happen on this. So you could have one track stem split on the left, and you could have another one where you've just got the stem playing of the vocal on deck 2, and then that leaves you channel 4 open for your aux input or whatever. Like, there are definitely, you're not tied to using stem split. As cool as stem split is, it's not the only way to work on here.
Yep. All right. Any other questions? Anyone? Cool. So we're just a hair over an hour, and yeah, I think we've done enough here. Everybody,
I'd just like to say you scoffed at the idea we'd be an hour.
Well, I always try to hope we don't get. I don't like to get over an hour too bad.
Have you not been on a show with me before?
I have. I've certainly watched you on your show. I mean, like, there's so much to share, right? And there's, all the knowledge that you have, Mojaxx. We've got, Jake from the brand. So we could probably go on for another 50 minutes and there would still be things that we uncovered. So, but we gave you all the extra content that you get to go and work on now before you get to release your review. Yeah. So
thanks so much. That's great.
All right, everybody in the, on Facebook, on YouTube, Twitch, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Mojaxx, thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
On the other side of the pond.
See you at NAM. Anyone who's coming to NAM, I'm going to be at NAM. Let's hang. Let's do it.
Yep.
NAM time.
Yep. I will definitely see you there, Mojaxx. Jake, thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, everybody. Again, if you're looking to pick up a Rane 4, there's links in the chat. And again, we've got another allocation on its way. Should be here in just a matter of days. Get you all sorted out and taken care of. Everybody who did order, thanks so much. We appreciate you all and all the support. Jake and Mojaxx, thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate it. Everybody else, thank you. Thanks for Cleveland for the raid earlier. Appreciate you sending everybody over. And that's it. See you guys later.